Hey guys, alright? Welcome everyone. Ciro saw a car without an alarm while walking down a quiet street, realizing that the car was an easy target in a neighborhood where crime had become a serious problem, and residents had to take additional measures to protect themselves. The area had many security cameras scattered around, but this didn't deter Ciro. After entering the vehicle, the criminal removed the stereo system and placed it in a backpack. He found sunglasses and decided to keep them before leaving. But before departing, Ciro left a gift for the millionaire, the owner of the car. He urinated on the back seat. He hid to avoid being seen by a man passing by on the street. Ciro tried to open the car door when the street was empty again, and that's where the trouble began for him. With all his strength, Ciro couldn't open any of the 4 car doors. He then attempted to open the trunk, but once again, without success. Ciro kicked the window, but nothing happened. He rummaged through the trunk and found a tire lever, trying to break the window with the tool, but nothing happened. Desperate, Ciro ripped off the panel of one of the doors and stuck his arm inside to unlock the car, but all the thief managed to do was severely cut himself. He then tried to destroy the carpet to find an escape route, but soon realized there was no way out. In a final desperate attempt, he decided to take the gun from his backpack and shoot at the windshield, but what he didn't know was that the bullet would ricochet and hit him in the leg. Ciro was stunned by the gunshot, and the wound left him speechless as he realized the mistake he had made. After a few seconds, the criminal took off his shirt and used it to stop the bleeding. Despite the gunshot, the glass remained intact. A woman passed by the car, and Ciro tried to get her attention by tapping on the window while she applied lipstick using the window as a mirror, but she didn't hear him. Apparently, it was impossible for anyone outside to hear or see what was happening inside the car. Ciro began to scream desperately and honk the horn, but nothing seemed to help. At this point, the criminal didn't know the identity of the person who had trapped him in the car. All he knew was that he was in grave danger because the owner of the vehicle had done a meticulous job preventing the intruder from finding a way to escape. The man grabbed his phone in fear and called his wife, but before finishing the call, the battery ran out. After drinking the remaining soda stored in a bottle, he lost the will to fight. Since then, the man decided to wait until help arrived while sitting in the dirty back seat of the car. The only other living being he had for company in the car was a cricket. After 24 hours, no one had found him. Ciro woke up dehydrated and tried to hydrate himself by licking a few drops of water running down the window. When he attempted to force the car door open, he returned the stereo system and turned on the music to improve his mood. At that exact moment, the thief received a suspicious call through a suspicious device. He chose to answer and was greeted by Dr. Enrique, his captor. As a result, the man revealed that he was born in a neighborhood 60 years ago and that he was a widower. This was the 29th time his belongings had been stolen, and in total, he had been robbed before, but this time, he made a different choice. When someone enters the car, the doctor activates an alarm connected to his phone. He successfully locked the doors with the phone, making it difficult for the person to access the car from the inside. Instead, Ciro would have to use Enrique's key to unlock the door. The vehicle was completely soundproof and armored, according to the doctor, and the windows were also polarized, making it impossible for anyone outside to see the perpetrator. Enrique claimed to have grown up in a middle-class family, and nothing negative ever happened when house doors were left open. Finally, the doctor asked Ciro what he would do if he found out his son was stealing, and then hung up the call when the criminal said he didn't know. Furious, Ciro threatened to kill Enrique as soon as he was released. Remotely activating the air conditioning at that exact moment gave the thief a chance to cool down, but the environment began to freeze quickly. When Ciro tried to turn off the device, the vehicle didn't respond to his commands. He put his shirt back on to try to warm up his body. After stopping the bleeding with a piece of his pants, Ciro covered the air vents with pieces of paper and a piece of the car's carpet. Hours later, when he's nearly frozen, the car's temperature starts to rise again, and the thief receives another call. When he answers the call, Enrique asked the same question: what would he do if he found out his son was stealing? And the guy wants one more answer, which he isn't sure about. Then, Enrique describes how his daughter's house was invaded while she was parking her car in the garage. 2 thieves appeared and stole all the money and belongings, leaving them very dissatisfied.
The thieves spent 3 hours holding a gun to Enrique's 5-year-old grandson's head.
The doctor's daughter chose to move her family to Barcelona in search of greater protection.
While Enrique narrates this story, the phone is cut off and a police car approaches. Upon seeing the police officers approaching, Ciro's heart starts to beat faster with hope. The man shouts and pounds on the windows when a police officer exits the vehicle and inspects the car. However, the officer only issues a parking ticket because he can't see anyone inside. Later, Ciro notices the rain falling outside that afternoon while suffering from thirst. Enrique calls him again and asks for his name, last name, and ID number.
The man would receive water in exchange for this information, saving his life. The doctor instructs the criminal to check the washing hose at the back of the car. After he agrees to comply with the warden's orders, Ciro takes the bottle and drinks some contaminated water. His main concern now is hunger. The man is in serious danger of starving if this continues. The next morning, Ciro is still determined to break the door, but he's weak and injured and realizes he won't be able to escape on his own. He tells Enrique that he had a fever due to an accidental gunshot wound in his leg. The doctor inquires about the wound's condition and turns on the heater while talking about his day. Enrique claims that when he went to pick up the results of his checkup that morning, he found out that his cancer had spread throughout his body. If all goes as planned, the doctor will have just over a year left to live. As the doctor describes the 28 robberies he has suffered, Ciro can't take it anymore and faints. When he wakes up, he's convinced that he doesn't have much time left. The thief decides to devour a piece of paper he tore from a book, as his hunger is intense. To prevent dying of dehydration, the criminal begins to customize the car's interior, leaving a sign that he had been there for whoever eventually finds the vehicle. His biggest concern was that his body would be dumped somewhere, and his family would never know what happened to him. Ciro starts collecting the liquid he expels from his body and then drinks it back. The man could never have imagined that he would live in such extreme conditions, not even in his worst nightmares. Later that day, a second man appears and tries to break into the car from the outside. However, 2 men approach and start beating him before he can complete the act. The criminal, who hadn't even finished the robbery, is beaten by onlooking spectators. He is taken to the police station as soon as the police arrive. Already at night, seeing the opportunity, he considers eating the insect that has accompanied him for the past 2 days because he is very hungry. But he decides not to do it because, after all, the insect is in as dire a situation as he is, so he decides to let it live. Many hours later, he is awakened by a new call from Enrique. The doctor says he has a candy stored in the back of the car and that he's in a good mood. He rushes to the candy immediately and eats it quickly before the doctor hangs up the phone. The thief begs for more water and a cigarette. With nothing else to do, he observes the routines of neighboring houses and identifies a specific pattern that occurs every day. If he were free, knowing this during the observations, Ciro would be capable of eliminating everyone living on that street. The thief discovers that the local beggar, who had eaten 2 rotten apples the day before, had recently found a slice of pizza in the trash because he was starving. Ciro is envious of this fortunate man. Later, the thief continues working on his strategy to open the car door and manages to accomplish his mission. Ciro yells with all his might, but without success, because the hole he manages to make with the tool he found in the trunk is very small. It's practically impossible for anyone to hear him. Enrique appears with information about Irina and Lionel, Ciro's wife and son. As the man hears this, he begins to worry that his family is in danger. But to his surprise, Enrique delivers some positive news. The doctor claims that he gave Irina $150,000 in cash under the pretense that her husband had won the lottery. He even recommended that the mother buy a house to avoid paying rent and use the remaining funds to finance their son's education. Enrique asserts that Ciro is unworthy of his family. The man claims that he obtained the criminal record of the criminal through a police friend and found out that he had already killed a victim. Ciro tries to apologize, saying he was only acting in self-defense during a robbery, as the owner of the tire shop brandished a knife to stab him, and Ciro shot him. Finally, he states that years of his life in prison served as payment for his mistake. Enrique says that Ciro was the chosen one and is now condemned to a new punishment. The man can't sleep that night, as he knows he will be a prisoner for a long time. He then decides to help his friend Grillo get his freedom and wishes him luck. Afterward, Ciro accidentally starts the car by touching the ignition button, fastens his seatbelt, reverses, and intentionally causes an accident. The thief successfully shatters the window this way, allowing him to escape. He makes his way through the city with difficulty until he finds the nearest convenience store. He quickly grabs a bottle of water from the freezer, then takes 2 hamburgers and starts eating. The security guard approaches the offender and asks him to leave, but Ciro pulls out a gun and shoots the man once in the chest. The thief wakes up at this point and realizes it was all a dream. Drained by the pain and without hope of getting out of that cell, he prepares to commit suicide by pointing the gun at his chin. However, he is interrupted by a phone call and pleads with Enrique to let him see his son one more time, but the doctor refuses. The thief then makes a suicide threat, but both his gun and his plot fail. The car's headlights come on a few seconds after Enrique orders him to look ahead, revealing the real face of the kidnapper. To minimize the odor inside the car, the doctor enters the vehicle and sprays flavoring to help Ciro relax. Enrique takes the gun, smokes a cigarette, and places it in his mouth. The man cries in anguish as the doctor extracts the bullet from his leg. When the man answers a patient's call, Ciro grabs the gun and shoots the doctor before escaping. The madman did not suffer serious injuries, and Enrique still pursues the criminal. But before he could be captured again, a local patrolwoman appears, and Enrique is detained. He tries to justify the act by saying he is punishing the car thief while claiming to assist the police in their duty. But the police demand that the doctor release the man and point a revolver at him. The situation remains the same 2 hours later. Enrique tells Ciro that he only wants one thing, the administration of justice, and refuses to let him go. The man takes advantage of the presence of journalists and onlookers to exploit the situation. He states that it is up to the audience to determine whether the doctor should summarily execute the criminal or set him free, asking them what they think should be done. When the police realize that people are in favor of the doctor, they decide to contact Mario to get involved in the situation. Enrique stands next to his car, pointing a revolver at the man's neck. Ciro has given up fighting at this point. The man is unconscious and watches the person who trapped him decide what will happen to him. The doctor finds it inconceivable that a thief can break into his house, steal his car, and escape unpunished after being discovered. The retired negotiator tells the doctor that he is there to help him, and according to Enrique, enforcing the law is the best way to help both him and the rest of the population. He claims to have sympathy and understanding for Enrique's anger. There are several other people there, and they are all angry as well. The doctor could have killed the man, but that would change nothing because there are thousands of criminals of this kind in the world. Taking the life of this young man would only make Enrique throw his life and career away. The doctor remains steadfast despite hearing this. He states that even if his actions don't change the world, at least he is making an effort, because otherwise, leaving the country would be the only option, as his daughter did. So, according to Mario, Enrique has already fulfilled his obligation, as Ciro has already learned his lesson. He begs the man to release the criminal, but the doctor turns to the local spectators who were robbed and asks them. Most people raise their hands to get Enrique's attention. After getting rid of all weapons and with the doctor's approval, the police negotiator offers water to Enrique. A policewoman approaches him and hands him a bottle, then leaves. Enrique leans over and kisses the policewoman's hand before taking a sip. The doctor passes the bottle to Ciro, who is now severely dehydrated. Mario approaches and asks Enrique once again to release the man. He says his wife passed away and they had no children, so he lives alone because he has no relatives and few friends. Currently, he can only survive on his modest pension. The negotiator says all this to demonstrate that he has nothing to lose and claims that when all is said and done, he wants to invite Enrique to his home for a beer. At this moment, the doctor thinks of his daughter and realizes that she does not deserve to be remembered as the daughter of the doctor who took the life of a thief. The man decides to set Ciro free, and then he gets into his car because this was not the memory he wanted to leave behind before departing. The culprit is then detained by the police, handcuffed, and the people in the area have difficulty understanding why the doctor released the man after holding him for 5 hours while the police try to arrest Enrique. Next, Mario sees only the doctor's arm placing a timer on the car's ceiling.
He quickly realizes that it's a bomb and asks the police to step back. Enrique is burned alive when the car explodes.
Everyone is baffled by the unusual outcome of this case, but Ciro breathes a sigh of relief knowing he survived the most terrifying assault of his life.